Dobro. History. Archive.
Hello and welcome to the Deep Dive.
Hi, everyone.
Today we're opening a source file that, well, it takes us into some really disturbing territory, some of the darkest corners of the digital world.
Yeah, this one's pretty heavy, and it really starts with a number.
It does. That number is 260,000.
260,000. It's a staggering figure, almost hard to grasp.
It really is. You know, you hear a number like that, and it's just data, isn't it? So let's try and put it into perspective so you can really see the scale of what we're talking about.
Okay, so 260,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the population of a decent-sized city. I think maybe Irvine in California or Bonn in Germany, something like that.
That's a huge crowd of people.
Right. Now imagine every single person in that city gathered together in one place online, virtually.
Okay.
And they're all hiding their faces, using fake names, masked identities, and they're all paying money, annual money, to watch the same thing.
Which way?
Systematic, live, documented exploitation and torture, mostly of women and young girls, minors.
Happening right then and there.
Exactly. Live. This whole operation, it started around 2019 in South Korea. It became infamous as the Nth Room case.
And our mission today in this deep dive, it really goes beyond just looking at the crime itself, or even the two main guys behind it. The first one, GodGod, and the sort of corporate one, 𝐃𝐄𝐄𝐏.
Right. It's not just about them.
No, we have to dig into the technology they exploited, but also the sociology of that huge invisible crowd, those 260,000 pairs of eyes that basically fueled this whole thing.
We need to understand the tech myths that we're relying on. You know, the ghost app, Telegram, the anonymous money, crypto.
And also the story of the few people who actually managed to track them down against the odds.
It's really a story about misplaced trust in technology, I think, and maybe more scarily, about what happens when anonymity gives people permission to make terrible choices.
Okay, so let's set the scene. We're in South Korea around 2019. It's an incredibly connected society, right? Maybe one of the most wired places on Earth.
Absolutely, hyper-connected. And the main way people communicate for everything is this app called KakaoTalk.
It's dominant, completely dominant.
And that became a problem. Because our sources show there was this deep-seated anxiety for years. A real cultural fear.
A fear of what, exactly?
That because KakaoTalk was so big, so local, the government, law enforcement, they could basically monitor it. That nothing you said on there was truly private.
Right. This feeling of being watched on the main platform.
And it wasn't just a vague feeling. It actually led to these mass digital migrations. People leaving KakaoTalk in droves.
Our sources called them the Telegram migrations. Happened back in 2014, then again in 2016. Huge numbers.
Hundreds of thousands of South Koreans, yeah. All looking for a safe haven from what they saw as government snooping.
And the platform they landed on?
Was Telegram. It was marketed, and this is key, it was perceived as the ultimate fortress of privacy.
People really bought into that.
Oh, completely. They thought it was totally secure, based overseas, end-to-end encrypted, basically impenetrable to the authorities.
An ironclad vault.
Exactly. And that widespread, intense belief, that created the perfect shadow, the perfect hidden space for something really dark to start growing.
So this criminal activity starts bubbling up on Telegram, and initially, the police are totally in the dark.
Yeah, completely unaware.
The first people who actually stumbled into this absolute nightmare weren't cyber cops or anything. They were just two university students.
Right. One Inji and Park Ji-yeon. Incredibly persistent students. They were running this tiny investigative journalism project they called Team Flame. Self-funded, just the two of them.
Wow. And how did they even get onto this?
They just got a tip, basically. A whisper in 2019 that something really, really bad was happening deep inside Telegram.
But how do you investigate that? It's not like a public website you can just browse.
Exactly. That was the huge challenge. These were private, hidden chat rooms. Extremely difficult to get into.
So what did they do?
Well, one Inji, one of the students, she basically had to go undercover. She had to learn the specific slang the criminals used, mimic their attitudes.
Just to blend in.
Yeah, just to get accepted. She later talked about how she had to communicate with the guys running these rooms, acting kind of subservient, you know, even calling them appa, like big brother, just to build enough trust to be let inside.
That takes some serious nerve. And a psychological toll, I imagine.
Absolutely. Just think about immersing yourself in that world, adopting that persona, all just to get past the digital velvet rope and see what was actually happening.
And when she finally got in, what did she find?
It was instantly, profoundly shocking, even worse than they probably imagined.
She described sitting down, maybe at her desk or in the library, clicking on a video link someone shared in one of these rooms. And the second the video started playing, she just slammed her laptop shut, physically recoiled, couldn't watch.
And what was it she saw?
She saw a teenage girl on camera being forced to use something sharp to carve a word into her own skin.
Oh, God.
That word was slave.
Right. And that was the moment they realized this wasn't just like illegal file sharing of bad videos. This was systematic. It was live. It was directed torture happening in real time. Organized, sadistic violence.
And the person at the center of it all, the original architect of this digital hell.
That was the first ghost. The guy who called himself GodGod.
His real name, we now know, was Moon Hyung-wook. And he started this whole thing back in 2018.
Setting up these chat rooms sequentially. Room 1, Room 2, Room 3, all the way up to the nth room, which kind of became the name for the whole operation.
So what was his method? How did GodGod operate?
His approach was chilling because it preyed on the victim's fear of exposure, not necessarily their need for money or anything. It was like a 3-step trap.
Okay, break it down for us. Step 1.
Step 1 was the hunt. He'd scour places like Twitter, looking for profiles of minors, teenagers, young women, specifically looking for photos that were maybe a bit revealing or could be taken out of context, anything that gave him leverage.
So he'd find a target. Then what?
Then step 2, the con. And this is where he was psychologically quite clever in a twisted way. He wouldn't start with threats.
No.
No. He'd approach the victim pretending to be a police officer, cyber police unit.
Seriously?
Yeah. He'd send a message saying something like, hey, we've detected that your private information, including these photos you posted, is being leaked online. This is serious, but I can help you secure your accounts before your parents or your school find out. He positioned himself as the rescuer.
Playing the protector, that's insidious.
Totally. And that led directly to step 3, the trap.
The technological trap.
Exactly. While pretending to help secure their device or install a security patch, he'd send them a link. He claimed it was like a secure encrypted tool from the police.
No, it wasn't.
Of course not. It was malware. A hacking link.
Yeah.
The second the victim clicked it, boom, he had access to everything.
Everything like.
Passwords, their contact lists, their phone's location data, and crucially, their parents' phone numbers and contacts.
Oh, wow. So the blackmail potential was enormous.
Absolute.
Yeah.
He didn't just have leverage over the victim. He had leverage over their entire social network, family, friends, school.
And that's how he forced them.
Into becoming what he called sex slaves. He created over 3,000 distinct pieces of abusive, exploitative material from, they think, at least 50 different victims this way.
3,000 pieces. Just him.
Just him, initially. And he was apparently quite arrogant about it, boasting to his followers in the chat rooms that he was some kind of tech genius, totally untouchable, said he could just ditch his phone if the police ever got close.
Unbelievable arrogance. Which brings us to something really crucial in the source material. The motive. You hear about this level of planning, this sadism. You automatically assume it's about money, right? Big money.
That's the natural assumption, that this must have been incredibly profitable.
But the reality...
The reality was completely different and, frankly, baffling. When they finally caught him, Moon Hyung-wook was just a 24-year-old university student, living a pretty normal life on the surface.
Okay, but what about the money? Surely he made bank from this.
Get this. His total documented profit from this entire extensive operation was 900,000 Korean won.
Which is what, in US dollars? Like, not much.
Around $750. That's total for everything.
$750, that's it. That can't be right.
That's what the investigation found. And maybe even weirder, he didn't even take it in cash or crypto. He took payment in something called culture gift vouchers.
Culture gift vouchers? What are those, like bookstore coupons?
Pretty much. They're low-value vouchers you can use for books, movie tickets, maybe some cheap electronics. It's petty cash, basically. Really easy to get.
So he's running this massive torture ring for bookstore vouchers.
It fundamentally changes how you have to view his motive, doesn't it? The fact he accepted those and the total amount was so pathetic.
Yeah.
It just blows the whole doing it for the money theory out of the water.
So if it wasn't money, what on earth was it? The financial gain was practically zero.
The analysis really has to shift to the psychological. He did it for fun. He did it for control.
Just the power trip.
It seems so. His goal wasn't getting rich. It was the feeling of power, of domination, building this little digital kingdom where he was God, controlling every aspect of the victims' lives, and orchestrating the whole sick show for his audience.
And taking payment in gift vouchers just underscores how twisted that pathology was. The currency wasn't money, it was absolute sadistic power.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The petty cash was almost incidental to the real reward, which was the control itself.
Okay, so GodGod, this initial kind of chaotic architect of cruelty, he just disappeared sometime in 2019.
Yeah, he vanished. Maybe the pressure got too much. Maybe he just got bored. We don't know for sure.
Yeah.
But he left a void.
A vacuum. And nature abhors a vacuum, especially online, it seems.
Right. And in July 2019, someone stepped in immediately to fill that void, and they filled it ruthlessly.
This is where the whole thing changes gear, doesn't it?
Massively. The era of God's sort of low profit, maybe more personally motivated sadism, that ended. Now began the era of organized, professionalized, corporatized cruelty.
Enter the second major figure, Baksa, which means the doctor in Korean.
Yep, Baksa. And he understood something crucial from the start. To take over and really capitalize on the demand God had already stirred up, he needed a powerful online persona. He needed to project absolute, untouchable authority.
So what kind of image did he create for himself?
He crafted this whole narrative, deliberately spread it around the dark corners of Telegram, claimed he was this hardened criminal figure.
Like what?
Like a 40-something Korean guy, tough, maybe ex-military or something, supposedly had a prosthetic leg. And crucially, that he was living safely outside the country, in Cambodia, completely beyond the reach of Korean law enforcement.
Wow, so he built this myth of being an untouchable international crime boss, maybe like a loan shark or something.
Exactly. He needed his potential customers, the watchers, to believe he was this ruthless, powerful figure they couldn't mess with, and that the operation was totally secure because he was offshore.
A very calculated image, but the reality,
Right.
when the police finally caught up with him, was quite different.
Oh, profoundly different. And kind of pathetic, honestly, in a really tragic way. The man behind the Baksa mask was 𝐃𝐄𝐄𝐿.
And he wasn't some middle-aged gangster in Cambodia?
Not even close. He was a 25-year-old recent college graduate.
Wow.
And when the police arrested him, they didn't raid some hideout overseas. They found him sitting in his own bedroom in Seoul.
Just a young guy living at home, probably.
Pretty much. But here's where the psychology gets really complex and, frankly, quite chilling.
Go on.
Our sources highlight these deep-seated insecurities 𝐃𝐄𝐄𝐿 had. Specifically, he was intensely insecure about his physical height.
Really? His height?
Yeah. Apparently, it was so crippling for him that he'd actually undergone limb-lengthening surgery.
Whoa, that's a major procedure. Really painful and complex, right?
Extremely. And because of the surgery and the long recovery, he was essentially bedridden, or at least severely limited in his mobility, for a full year.
Okay, think about that contrast for a second.
It's stark, isn't it? In the real physical world, 𝐃𝐄𝐄𝐿 is literally immobile, stuck in bed, consumed by this physical insecurity.
But online?
Online, behind the anonymous mask of Baksa, he could become the exact opposite. He constructed this incredibly powerful, dictatorial, sadistic alter ego. His physical weakness was completely overcompensated by this absolute digital power he wielded over dozens of victims and hundreds of thousands of users.
It was like his ultimate psychological escape hatch. Or fortress.
Precisely. And the moment Baksa took charge, he didn't just continue God's methods. He professionalized everything, turned it into a streamlined business.
How so? Like, how did he recruit victims differently?
His recruitment was much more systematic than God's sort of opportunistic hacking. Baksa moved into organized deception.
Okay.
He started posting fake job ads across social media, things promising, high-paying part-time job, easy money, or modeling gig, no experience needed, stuff like that.
Targeting young women, minors maybe, looking for work?
Exactly. People who were vulnerable, maybe needed the money. They'd respond to the ad, send in their resume, photos, all their personal contact details.
Oh, I see where this is going. Once he had that data.
He had them trapped.
Yeah.
The threats would start immediately. Total blackmail. You applied for this job, now you do exactly what I say, or I send your resume, these photos, everything, to your parents, your school, all your friends. He used their real-world hopes and vulnerabilities against them.
That's horrifyingly efficient. And his monetization, how did he make money? God barely made anything.
Baksa was all about the money. He set up free pizza rooms first.
To lure people in.
Yeah, get them curious, build a massive audience. He'd show snippets, maybe blur things out. But if you wanted access to the real archive, the full videos, and especially the live abuse rooms, you had to pay, and pay substantial fees.
How did they pay? Still gift vouchers.
No way. Baksa demanded payment exclusively in cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, things like that.
deliberately trying to use that perceived anonymity we talked about earlier.
Definitely. It was a conscious choice to make tracing harder, or so he thought. And he didn't just have one price. He set up this whole tiered VIP system, like a business membership model.
Seriously, VIP tiers for watching torture.
Yes. The top tier, for the most exclusive access, cost customers up to 1.5 million Korean won.
Which is over $1,200 US?
Correct. Per person for top-level access. And remember, we're talking about potentially thousands of paying customers across different tiers. This wasn't petty cash anymore. This was a serious recurring revenue stream.
Okay, this is where Box's operation feels fundamentally different and maybe even more sinister than GodGod's. That high price tag, it wasn't just about watching, was it?
That's the critical shift. Paying that much money, that kind of premium, it didn't just buy you access to view the content. It bought you control. It bought you participation.
What do you mean control?
Boxa explicitly allowed his high-paying VIPs to request specific acts. To direct what happened in the videos, they could essentially order exclusive content.
Oh my God, so they weren't just passive viewers anymore.
Not at all. They transitioned. They became paying customers, yes, but also directors. They became active co-perpetrators in the abuse.
Do we have examples of what they requested?
The police chat logs are horrifying. Users would pay to order victims to do incredibly degrading things like bark like a dog on camera.
Jesus.
They would demand specific acts of self-injury. And they would pay extra specifically to see words like boxa or slave carved into the victim's skin by the victim herself.
So the audience was literally commissioning the torture.
Directly. It became a collaborative act between Boxa, the controller, and this anonymous paying audience who felt entitled, because of the money they paid, to dictate the specifics of the suffering they watched. It weeded out casual onlookers and cultivated this core group of active demand-side sadists.
Okay, let's just quickly recap the two architects for everyone listening. We have GodGod, real name, Moon Hung Wook. Method, hacking, blackmail. Motive, seemed to be mostly fun control. Sentence, 34 years.
Right. Then you have Boxa, real name, Cho Jubin. Method, much more organized. Fake jobs, crypto payments, tiered VIP system. Motive, definitely profit, but also maybe this deep psychological need for control, compensating for his own issues. Sentence, 42 years.
Both monstrous, but Boxa really industrialized the cruelty. He built a business model around the demand.
Precisely. He didn't just create the supply. He cultivated and monetized the demand side in a terrifyingly efficient way.
Okay, so the police now have the names. They know who GodGod and Boxa are, but catching them is one thing, prosecuting them effectively, and crucially, going after that huge user base, those 60,000 people, that's another challenge entirely.
Right, because the entire operation was built on these two supposed technological shields, two walls they thought were unbreakable.
Wall number one, the ghost app, Telegram.
And wall number two, the anonymous money, cryptocurrency.
This is where we need to do a bit of a tech deep dive, because understanding how these walls crumbled is key to the whole story.
Absolutely. And the fascinating thing is, the criminals' confidence, their whole sense of being untouchable, was built on some really fundamental misunderstandings about how this tech actually works.
Okay, let's start with Telegram. We established earlier that everyone in Korea, basically, who fled 𝐃𝐄𝐄𝐄, thought Telegram was this super private, 100% secure fortress, the key phrase being end-to-end encrypted, or E2E.
Right, E2E encryption. We should probably quickly explain what that actually means in simple terms.
Good idea.
Think of it like sending a physical letter, but instead of an envelope, you put it in a super strong steel lockbox. Only you, the sender, have the key to lock it, and only the specific person you're sending it to has the matching key to unlock it. The platform, like the post office in this analogy, they handle the box, they transport it. But even the post office itself cannot open the box and read the letter inside. That's true E2E security. Apps like Signal work like this for pretty much everything.
Got it. Secure box, only sender and receiver have keys. So what was the problem with Telegram in the nth room case?
Here's the fatal flaw they all missed. Telegram does offer E2E encryption, but only for a specific type of chat, a one-on-one secret chat.
Only one-on-one.
Only one-on-one secret chats. But the nth room operation wasn't one-on-one. It involved broadcasting horrific videos and messages to tens of thousands of users at the same time.
Right. They needed massive group chats.
Exactly. And to do that, they had used Telegram's standard group chat feature, which they call cloud chats.
And cloud chats are
not end-to-end encrypted. That's the kicker.
Seriously, the huge group chats weren't E2E.
Nope. The messages, the user lists, all those thousands of videos Boxa and GodGod shared, They weren't locked in that steel box. They were essentially stored on Telegram servers. Encrypted between your device and the server, yes, but not end-to-end. Telegram itself could access them if compelled legally.
So the entire premise of their security was just wrong.
Fundamentally flawed. The whole criminal enterprise, operating for years attracting 260,000 IDs, was built on a basic technical misunderstanding.
That's incredible. So for the police, the aha moment wasn't figuring out how to break encryption.
No. It was realizing they didn't need to break encryption for the main evidence. They just needed legal access to Telegram servers. They needed a warrant, not a magic decryption key. The evidence was just sitting there, relatively unprotected from a legal standpoint.
Their supposedly impenetrable fortress was basically built on ignorance.
Pretty much. Technological ignorance was the foundation. Okay, now for the second wall, crypto.
Right. Boxa specifically demanded Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. He clearly thought this was untraceable digital cash, anonymous money.
That was the belief. And it's another huge myth we need to bust for anyone listening. Bitcoin, Ethereum, most major cryptocurrencies, they are not a mask for your financial activity. They're the opposite.
What do you mean the opposite?
Think of it this way. Using crypto like Bitcoin isn't like wearing a mask. It's like getting a permanent, highly visible tattoo.
A tattoo? How so?
Because the technology underneath it all, the blockchain, isn't some private, hidden vault. It's a giant public ledger, a database that anyone can look at.
Public? You mean all the transactions are visible?
Every single one. Every time one of Box's VIPs sent him 1.5 million won worth of Bitcoin, that transaction, the amount, the sending address, the receiving address was permanently recorded, tattooed onto the public blockchain. Forever. Visible to anyone who knows where to look.
Okay, but the identity is hidden, right? It's just a long string of numbers, the wallet address, not a name.
That's true initially.
Yeah.
The addresses themselves are pseudonymous, not anonymous. But the police didn't need the name right away. They just had to follow the money, follow the tattoo. They traced the flow of coins from Box's receiving wallet address. They watch where that money moves next, which address it goes to, and then where that address sends it, and so on. It's digital forensics, following the trail on the public ledger.
Okay, they follow the trail, but how does that lead to a real person?
They wait. They wait for Boxa to make the inevitable, crucial mistake. He has all this crypto wealth, but what good is it if he can't spend it in the real world?
Right, he needs to convert it back into actual Korean won or dollars or whatever to pay rent, buy things.
Exactly. Investigators call this the off-ramp, or cashing out. To turn that crypto tattoo back into usable fiat currency, you almost always have to use a cryptocurrency exchange. Think of them like specialized banks for crypto.
Okay, these exchanges.
And the critical thing about exchanges, especially the major legitimate ones that handle large amounts of money, is that they have to follow strict regulations, anti-money laundering laws.
Which means?
Which means they have to know who their customers are. It's called KYC, Know Your Customer.
Ah, so you can't just anonymously open an account on a big exchange.
Not if you want to move significant money or cash out to a real bank account. You have to provide real identification, your passport, your driver's license, proof of address, all that stuff.
Yeah.
The anonymity completely disappears at the exchange point, at the off-ramp.
So the police just followed Boxa's Bitcoin tattoo on the blockchain.
Right to this specific exchange he used when he finally tried to convert some of his crypto millions into actual cash.
And then they served the exchange with a warrant.
Precisely. A warrant demanding, give us the real-world identity associated with this specific crypto wallet address that received these illicit funds.
And the exchange had to comply.
They had to, because of KYC laws and the legal warrant. They looked up the account linked to that address, and they handed over the name.
𝐃𝐄𝐄𝐏.
Game over. The second great technological myth, the untraceable crypto cash, shattered. Not by cracking codes, but just by understanding public ledgers and regulatory compliance at the exit points.
Incredible. Both pillars of their supposed security just dissolved under scrutiny.
Built on sand, really. Misinformation and wishful thinking.
So the tech walls crumble. The police have the evidence. They have the names. Boxa is arrested in March 2020. GodGod a couple of months later in May. The ringleaders are caught.
A huge victory for law enforcement and for the journalists at Team Flame who broke the story.
But the story didn't end there, did it? The public reaction, it wasn't just relief, it was outrage. And that outrage wasn't just directed at GodGod and Boxa.
No, not at all. For Team Flame, for the victims' advocates, and for a huge segment of the South Korean public, catching the suppliers was only half the equation. They demanded accountability for the demand side.
For the watchers.
The 260,000.
Exactly. This unleashed a massive national debate, a real moral crisis. The public pressure was immense. Our sources say over 5 million people signed a national petition.
5 million demanding what?
Demanding that the government release the identities of everyone who had paid to be in those nth rooms. People wanted to know who these watchers were. Were they their neighbors, their colleagues? Who were the people hiding behind these masks?
That's intense pressure. So what about that initial number, 260,000 IDs? Was that the final count of actual users? That was the shocking headline figure, the total number of unique Telegram IDs that passed through those rooms at some point. But the police did further analysis.
To refine it.
Yeah, they had to filter out duplicate accounts, automated bots, maybe people who just popped in briefly and left. When they drilled down to identify unique, human users who actually engaged, paid, and viewed the content, the number they landed on was still horrifying.
What was it?
Around 60,000 unique human users.
60,000. Okay, that's less than 260K, but still, that's the size of a town, a small city.
It's an enormous number of people. 50,000 individuals who made a conscious choice, often involving payment, to seek out and watch this horrific abuse. That number itself sent shockwaves through the country.
And the key question then became, were these 60,000 people just passive lookers? Did they just stumble in and watch quietly?
And the evidence retrieved from Telegram, the chat logs, provided a definitive and absolutely terrifying answer to that.
Which was?
No, they were not passive. The logs showed constant active cruelty from the user base.
How so?
They weren't silent voyeurs. They were vocal. They were demanding. They were complete dehumanizing towards the victims. The logs showed users constantly laughing at the victim's suffering, deriding them without feeling guilty, treating the whole thing like some kind of dark entertainment.
Like a spectator sport.
Worse. Team Flame's reporting summed it up perfectly. They said the users treated the women and children like products, not human beings.
Are there specific quotes?
Yeah, and they're hard to stomach. One user was actually recorded in the logs telling one of the ringleaders something like, if the victim feels like dying because the video is spreading, tell her to give it to me before she dies.
Oh my God. That's pure evil.
It shows the mindset. The community wasn't just passively consuming, it was actively participating in the degradation. Cruelty became the accepted norm, the shared language. And the anonymity of the masks seemed to encourage this kind of competitive sadism.
This really brings us to that concept you hear about the banality of evil, Hannah Arendt's idea.
Exactly. If 60,000 people are involved, they can't all be some kind of extreme, clinically diagnosable monsters living on the fringes. Many must have been ordinary people.
Ordinary people given permission to be monstrous.
That seems to be the terrifying conclusion. The anonymity wasn't just a way to hide. It functioned as a permission slip. The technology promised no consequences, and the group dynamic within the chat rooms provided validation, even encouragement, for the cruelty.
So the mask didn't necessarily create the evil impulse, but it removed all the normal social barriers, the shame, the fear of judgment that usually keep those impulses in check for most people.
Precisely. It stripped away the guardrails. And the results, when the police started systematically identifying and arresting these users, were absolutely devastating for public trust.
Why? Who are they finding?
Because when the masks came off, the people behind them weren't just societal outliers. They were people embedded deep within the community, people in positions of significant trust.
Like who?
The list of arrested users included active duty police officers.
Yeah. Police officers.
Yes, and elementary school teachers.
Teachers. People entrusted with children.
Yes. Individuals whose literal job was to protect children and uphold the law were found to be paying customers, active participants, in a digital ring torturing children and women.
That is profoundly disturbing. It shatters the idea that this was just some fringe group.
Completely. The implication was enormous and terrifying. The watchers weren't some abstract them out there on the dark web. The watchers were potentially us, operating from within the most trusted institutions of society, hiding in plain sight.
So the full horror is revealed. The ringleaders, the methods, the technology failures, and perhaps most shockingly, the sheer scale and the everyday nature of the watchers. The public and legal response had to be significant.
Overwhelming is probably the right word. The South Korean courts, when sentencing, didn't mince words. They explicitly called the nth room operation a crime against humanity.
That's powerful language from a court.
It signals the perceived severity, the deep violation of fundamental human dignity, and the sentences reflected that.
Remind us.
GodGod, Moon Hung-wook, the originator, got 34 years. Boksa, 𝐃𝐄𝐄𝐏, the businessman, initially got 40 years, but that was actually increased on appeal to 42 years in prison.
Significant time. And what about the Watchers? Did they face consequences?
Yes, and this was a major focus. Out of those estimated 60,000 unique users, the police investigation managed to identify and formally investigate or arrest 3,757 individuals, specifically linked to participating in the rooms.
Over 3,700 people investigated. How many actually went to prison?
245 were ultimately imprisoned, which might sound small compared to 60,000, but it represents a huge investigative effort and, more importantly, a significant symbolic shift towards holding the demand side legally accountable, punishing the viewers, not just the creators.
But maybe the most lasting legacy isn't just the prison sentences. It's how this case forced changes in the law itself.
Absolutely. If there's one enduring outcome, it's the passage of what's commonly called the Nth Room Prevention Law. It was pushed through specifically because this case ripped open these massive, glaring loopholes in existing legislation. It really exposed how unprepared the law was for this type of digital crime.
What were the main gaps it tried to close? Our sources mentioned 3 key changes.
That's right. Change number 1 was aimed squarely at the watchers, the demand side.
Oh, so?
Previously, South Korean law was a bit murky on just possessing or viewing illegally filmed sexual material, especially if the victim was an adult or if you didn't actively distribute it yourself. There was a blind spot.
A loophole the 60,000 could potentially hide behind.
Exactly. The new law slammed that loophole shut. It explicitly criminalized the mere possession and viewing of such material. Full stop. Didn't matter if the victim was adult or minor, didn't matter if you shared it or not. Just having it, just watching it, became a distinct criminal act. It redefined viewing as active participation in the harm.
Okay, that's huge. What was the second big change?
The second change tackled the platform problems specifically, the Telegram issue. Before this law, overseas tech companies could often argue, look, we're just infrastructure. We're based elsewhere. We can't police everything users do on our platform.
The safe harbor argument.
Right. The Nth Room Prevention Law basically said, not good enough anymore. It imposed a legal duty on overseas companies, like Telegram, operating in Korea, to make active technical and administrative measures to prevent the circulation of this kind of material and to delete it proactively from their servers.
It forced them to take responsibility.
Yes, and crucially, it backed it up with the threat of massive fines if they failed to comply. It fundamentally shifted the legal burden onto the platforms, making them liable for enabling this kind of content, even if hosted overseas.
A major shift in platform liability. And the third pillar of the law.
The third part addressed the enablers, the people within the system who helped the criminals. Remember, Boxa got crucial help from a social service worker who abused their access to government databases to leak victims' private information.
Right, the inside help.
The new law created specific, much harsher penalties for any public servant police, government workers, teachers, anyone with access to official systems who misuses that access to leak private citizen data for criminal purposes. It specifically targeted that betrayal of public trust from within state institutions.
So the system definitely reacted. Laws were changed, loopholes were closed, sentences were handed down. It seems like a decisive response.
It was a necessary response, forced by the sheer horror of the case.
Yeah.
But, and this is the really hard part, we have to acknowledge the final tragic reality here.
Which is?
The story doesn't just end neatly with laws and prison sentences, especially not for the victims. We know there were at least 103 identified victims, and 26 of those were minors. For them, the trauma is ongoing.
Because the videos are still out there.
Exactly. Experts and reports consistently confirm that once this kind of material, especially something distributed so widely across potentially 60,000 screens, gets online, it is almost impossible to completely delete it all.
It just keeps reappearing.
It resurfaces, it gets reshared, even with all the legal changes, even with Boxa and GodGod locked up. The victims face the possibility of lifelong re-victimization every time those videos reappear somewhere online. The digital scars of the Nth Room are, in many ways, permanent. There's no real undo button.
Okay. So if we try to synthesize everything we've gone through in this deep dive, it feels like there are 2 main takeaways, 2 big myths that got busted.
I think so. First, the technological myths. The idea that Telegram group chats were this impenetrable vault and that crypto was untraceable cash. Both were proven completely false. They were dismantled by pretty standard investigative work, understanding server access, and following public ledgers.
The tech wasn't the magic shield they thought it was.
Not at all. And the second myth, maybe the more profound one, was societal. It's the myth that this kind of extreme evil must look obviously monstrous, that it only comes from the fringes.
But the nth room case showed that wasn't true.
It showed the watchers were ordinary. They were police officers, they were teachers, they were people hidden in plain sight, enabled by the anonymity the digital mask provided, the banality of evil made digital.
The laws in South Korea have changed now. The specific technologies used in the nth room are better understood, maybe better policed, but technology never stands still, does it?
Never. There will always be a new app, a new platform, a new form of supposedly untraceable digital currency, or a peer-to-peer network designed to evade detection. A new potential room could theoretically open tomorrow using tech we don't even fully grasp yet.
Which leads us to the final, unsettling question.
Yeah, and it's the question that really brings it back to us, to you listening. If the technology evolves, if a new room opens using something truly novel and hard to trace, the core lesson from the nth room wasn't ultimately about the app or the crypto. It was about human choice.
The choice made behind the mask.
Exactly. Can we be so sure that society won't produce another 60,000 people or more willing to put on that new digital mask and choose to participate? The technology changes, but the fundamental question about human behavior in the face of perceived anonymity, that remains. That's the enduring challenge.
A deeply sobering thought to end on. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks for listening.
We'll see you next time.